became an issue, and he went over to the sideline and had to get a couple of eye drops.
Well, it looks like he's okay as he's warming up down there. Boy, look at that. Yes. You could see it hit him, but looks like he's okay.
Now, look, Tampa's starting a 3-game road trip. 0-2, as we've mentioned, and they're missing McCoy and Foster, 2 of their best.
Welcome to the NFL, right? You know, you got to deal with adversity in the NFL. And what do people want to know the day after the game? They just want to know, did you win or did you lose?
You win or you lose.
And Lovie Smith said, we got some injuries. We're going to stay the course. I'm not going to trick things up because I'm missing some players. He believes in the system. We'll see if it's good enough to win here tonight.
Lovie trying to get his first win as the Buccaneers head coach after a very successful run at Chicago that ended after the 2012 season. Michael Kanan began his career right here in Atlanta. He's the punter for the Bucs and handles the kickoff chores as well. Spent 6 years here. But the neat story here is tonight, Devin Hester going against Lovie Smith. And there is a close bond between Devin and the entire Lovie Smith family. They had a nice little meeting down on the field before the game. Lovie calls him a lifetime family member. Here they were meeting. Of course, the plan was to get Devin to come down
to Tampa. That's right.
Join the Tampa side. Things did not work out in free agency that way. And here he comes. He's going to get a chance to run from the goal line. Here comes Devin Hester. And Hester, look at him. Out to the 30. Tackled by Cresden Butler. And Matt Ryan, all those numbers you gave us earlier, Phil, at home, plus you take him in the month of September at home, 10-1 all time. And week 1 here against New Orleans, he set the Atlanta franchise record with 448 yards.
Well, they were anxious to get this game going tonight on the offensive side because they were embarrassed how they played against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Number 1 pass offense through 2 weeks because of those numbers. And Ryan's got a connection right away with Julio Jones.
A lot of teams in the league run this play. Great play action fake. Matt Ryan really sells it. And the linebackers come up, and there's a big gaping hole. Why? If the linebackers come to stop the run, those safeties are back there deep.
Picked up 14. Steven Jackson's the back, and he gets the carry, and a long-time vet. The leading active rusher in the league. In fact, he's now number 20 all-time in league history. Has a gain of about 4 running into the arms of Levante David.
Well, Levante David, we had a chance to talk to him yesterday, and he says, without a doubt, this is the biggest running back in the NFL. Hard to bring down, but a good job that time by him.
Sunday. Let him go.
2nd and 6 for the Falcons, and a little play action. And wide open, he swings it over to DeMarco, his fullback, and Patrick DeMarco has a good gain and a first down at the Tampa 36.
Same play to the other side. Watch the fake. Look down the middle of the field. They're covered. And so everybody's chasing inside. And that's why DeMarco is wide open.
First touch of the season for DeMarco, who now splits wide to the right at the top of your screen.
Confusion on the Bucs defense. They finally get lined up.
And they got all these missing parts. And they definitely looked out of place on that last play. 1st and 10, and down the field, Ryan. Wide open again, it's Julio Jones with his 2nd catch on the opening drive.
Pretty easy. Julio Jones down at the bottom of the screen, gonna go here, watch it clear out. And Matt Ryan, this is one of the best throws he likes that he can do. He throws that skinny post where they barely bend in, and he knows how to throw it and protect the wide receivers. Nice throw. Nice and low.
And it picked up 25, and they go back to Jackson. Hit early, but he breaks it, and he's down to the 5 and barreling to about the 3. He was able to get away from Daquan Bowers and takes it for 8.
Well, good blocking up front. Watch the offensive line. Asamoah gets a block, and a good move by Steven Jackson. What really makes the play is the fact that he broke the tackle. Well, this offensive line, they were a little mad at themselves last week. The Atlanta Falcons not running the football enough against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Jacquizz Rodgers in for Jackson. They split their tight end, also to a slot to the right on 2nd and 2 from the 3. And Ryan wide open again. And he's got Harry Douglas for the touchdown.
Well, Matt Ryan knew he had time and didn't panic, didn't rush the throw. Watch inside. This is where he wants to throw it. Doesn't like it, so he moves. And what a job by Douglas. He uncovers. And Jim, we've talked about it for days. Matt Ryan, his movement in the first 2 games, the coaches said to us, he's run more in the first 2 games than he's run in his whole career. Good example of it right there.
And we talked about Harry Douglas filling in tonight as a starter for Roddy White. It's hard to find a better number 3 guy coming in and stepping up in this now 4 consecutive matchups against Tampa Bay in which Douglas has scored a touchdown. Atlanta takes the opening kickoff, and in less than 3 minutes they drive with frightening ease for the touchdown. Jim Nance, Phil Simms, Mike Carey, and Tracy Wolfson here in Atlanta. We made that point about Tampa's defense going against backups the first 2 weeks, and now tonight they go against an elite quarterback and Matt Ryan, and boy did he just blitz him right down the field.
An elite quarterback, but an elite offense. They can protect now. They got Jake Matthews back, and we said it, the receiving corps is deep, fast, and good.
Matt Bosher kicks it to Patton about a yard deep, and Solomon Patton is wrestled down by Eric Weems. There was a flag on the return. Greg Rolstad is tonight's referee.
During the return, personal foul, face mask against kicking team. 15-yard penalty, first down.
They'll put the football across the 30 to the 33.
Grabs around the shirt, the collar, the shoulder pads. Wasn't on the face mask, but it looked like it. The head went down, and just remember, we showed it to you in slow motion. When it's full speed, you got to make an instant decision.
All right, Josh McCown and the Buccaneers already down a quick 7. 12-year journeyman quarterback getting the chance this year as a starter in the league. And on first down, they go to Bobby Rainey, and he is stuffed for no gain by Paul Warlow and others. Well, Josh McCown, we saw him a couple times last year in Chicago. Just brilliantly subbed for Jay Cutler. 5 starts last year, 13 touchdowns, 1 pick. He's played for 6 different NFL teams, plus a couple other camps where he never played for the team, plus the Hartford Colonials of the UFL. Coached a little high school football in the Charlotte area. But last year, just so sensational in relief for Cutler. He was able to parlay that into a big contract, and they named him the starter when they signed him. 2nd and 10. And he's got Brandon Myers for about 5 yards. And you know, we've had McCown in games before, Phil. You've always thought there's a lot of ability here.
But there's no doubt physically he has starter ability. He can still move around to the age of 35, running very, very well, and he can still throw it. Has a strong arm. Got a brother Luke down in New Orleans.
Luke the backup to Breeze.
But he was named the starter. That's a good job by Lovie Smith. No quarterback competition, no controversy, knowing he has a good backup in Mike Glennon.
Yeah, Glennon, who had good numbers as a rookie last year. 3rd and 4. And the Bucs go down the field, and it was in and out of the hands of Rainey, and that's going to be a 3 and out. Atlanta's going to get it right back.
Croy Bierman on the coverage. Rainey, not a big tall running back and not a big receiver. And look at, you could see the size difference. There's no doubt the football, by the time he saw it, it was right there, not able to pull it in. Excellent throw. But the size mismatch was the difference.
So Kanan out to punt to Devin Hester. 13 career punt return touchdowns. The Bucs have not given up a punt return touchdown in 126 games, longest streak in the league. And just as they say that, here goes Hester across the 40, midfield. He's got to beat the punter, and Kanan's able to trip him up at the 35, and there are flags. Back in the area where it was punted. It was a 50-yard return by Hester.
Well, some people said Devin Hester's lost a little speed. I've watched their first 2 games. What do you think, Jim?
No, if he has, I don't know what it looked like before.
Matt Ryan said that's what people told him. He says, boy, I don't know. In practice, when he's running deep, he says, you got to get back fast and let it go.
I'll never forget 7 years ago, we're down calling the Super Bowl in Miami, and we turned around after a little on camera, and the ball was in the air. Next thing you know, Hester's going 93 yards for the first and only opening kickoff return for a touchdown in Super Bowl history.
There are fouls by both teams.
Flag on both teams.
Before the kick, holding offense number 31. During the return, illegal block below the waist. 23. Return team number 23. Also holding on the return team. Those penalties will offset. We will replay 4th down.
We're going to replay. Now this raises the question, if anybody should know you don't want to punt it to Devin Hester, you would think it would be Lovie Smith.
Well, we asked him that question. He was a little coy with the answer, and I don't know. Well, we saw it. I'll be very surprised, shocked that this football is not kicked towards his sidelines. In fact, he says the one thing we do well, we directional kick very well, but not that time. That was right down the middle. That's a big dodge by this Tampa Bay Buccaneers football team. Crowd starting to get loud. Easy score in the first drive. That big return. They needed a break, and they got it.
So Hester drops back to the 20, and they try to send it to the sideline, and they do. Nowhere near Devin this time. 36-yard punt. Harry Douglas for the game's first touchdown. Thursday Night Football is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Without a heart, it's just a machine. Verizon, XLTE on America's largest, most reliable network. And by the all-new 2015 Acura TLX. It's that kind of thrill. Here in the capital city of Atlanta. And now from the 25. Ryan again, wide open target. Just as they started this game going to Julio Jones, they start this series going to Julio for 9 more. Took them 6 plays the first time they had it to drive 70 yards. Huge chunks virtually every single play.
Every time, tremendous protection by the offensive line. This is how he got protected in the opening game. They lost Jake Matthews last week. It was a little rough.
2nd and 1, and skipping ahead for the first is Steven Jackson, and a pickup of 3. This running attack, Phil, for the Falcons last year was 32nd in the league, dead last. But that offensive line, they had issues, and they went out and drafted Jake Matthews. Of course, they've already lost Sam Baker, one of their tackles and a fine player, on injured reserve to a knee for the year, but something they're trying to change this year. 1st and 10, and there is the line opening it up for Jackson all the way onto the Atlanta or Tampa Bay side of the field, and a gain of 14.
They over pursued. When you're getting run over, watch the linebackers. That time they go across the formation. Warlow, nobody there, and Steven Jackson, well, I think he can spot a hole like that. When you talk about Lovie Smith's defense, everybody's got to stay in their gap, nowhere to go, and that time they were out of position.
They're right at the 50, and another first down with Rodgers getting his first touch, and a gain of 2. Follow tonight's matchup from every angle, all on your phone. Download the CBS Sports app for in-depth stats and all the conversation around the game.
Well, they got them reeling on the defensive side, so when you got momentum and you got this going and the defense is like, what's coming next? That's why you see Atlanta in this hurry-up offense.
Ryan has hit his first 5 throws and make it 6 for 6. And another first down. Levine Toilolo, the tight end, for 12. Matt Ryan, 3 straight seasons, over 4,000 yards, 25 career game-winning drives in the fourth or overtime, including week 1 against New Orleans.
When you look at him there, you can see what kind of shape he's in. That's one of the reasons why he's stronger and moving more, just because he's learned to be a pro. Worked hard in the offseason, and it shows once you come to training camp.
They've already had 5 plays, Bill, that went for over 10 yards. On first down, he tried to thread that one, and it got knocked down by Dane Fletcher, the former Patriot. You talk about Matt Ryan through his first 6 seasons. He's keeping company with Peyton Manning and Dan Marino with these numbers. Passing yards, touchdowns.
He's doing it all. And look, there was questions early in his career. I didn't see him coming out of college and thinking he was going to be this kind of success. But the Falcons have done a great job building around him, helping him. The offense fits what he can do. He's gotten stronger and better and tougher every year.
Handles a low snap on 2nd and 10. And the ball's out and picked up on the fly, and then it's stripped away and recovered by Hester. It was in the hands of Toilolo, and then all of a sudden the fumble was recovered in the air, only to be fumbled right back. It was Mark Barron, the former first-round pick from Alabama, who lost it. Gave it right back to Atlanta. Change of possession and a first down for the Falcons.
Barron never saw Hester coming from behind. He thought, hey, here we go. Nobody in front.
A fumble by the defense and recovery by the original offense. First down and 10.
Devin Hester seeing a lot of action in 4 receiver sets for the Falcons, and what a play he makes right here.
Yeah, he's looking inside. Barron's looking inside, had no idea it was behind him. And Matt Ryan, protection, receivers wide open. He's not even going to take a chance. He knows he has time to look for that second receiver.
First down, and on the slant, they've got Weems for 4.
And you talk about this offensive line, Jim, what they want to be more physical. If you watch Hard Knocks, that's all Mike Smith talked about. When being physical means 2 things, stopping the run and being able to run the football when you want to. The running game has been working for this offense. Now, stopping the run for the Atlanta defense, that's another question, but that's what being physical means.
Steven Jackson back in, and he gets the call, and he gets the first down near the 25. Well, Steven Jackson, of course, all those years in St. Louis, didn't play for a winner there, but he was virtually everything for the Rams offense coming out of Oregon State as a first-rounder. Leads all active players as he moves in on 11,000 career rush yards. He also has more receptions for active players come out of the backfield. Back and target DeMarco, the fullback. He's inside the 20.
Well, the one thing that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did not want to see, they got the injuries, they lack a little depth. They did not want to see this hurry up. The biggest reason why, the short week. They didn't have enough time to go over it and go through the mechanics. What are we going to do if they play hurry up? How are we going to substitute? How are we going to change the calls on the defensive side? And you can see, well, they weren't ready for it.
2nd and 4 from the 19. Jackson goes outside and falls a yard short as Fletcher brings him down.
That's how you tackle him, isn't it? Why would you try to tackle a 250-pound running back high? Dane Fletcher in there because Foster is out, and he's calling the signals. Done a good job since he's come from New England, and he's one of those hybrid guys. In other words, he can play with his hand on the ground. Playing middle linebacker tonight, that was a good tackle by him.
Gabe Karimi has come on for Atlanta. Give him 6 offensive linemen. He is an eligible receiver on 3rd and a yard. And it's Jackson. He's going to have it. No problem. Down to the 8.
Well, when you go outside, you always got to give the tight ends credit, because that's the toughest thing. Toilolo on the outside. Jake Matthews swings around. Good block that time by the fullback, DeMarco. Man, I saw Steven Jackson down on the field before the game, and if I didn't recognize his face, I just said, that's a big guard. A good-looking guard at that. Just in great shape. That's his style of running. When you're big like that, you got to play big.
He's already got 46 yards in this first quarter. This is Smith, Anton Smith. They actually have 4 running backs they use. You've seen Jackson and Smith and Rogers, as well as Devontae Freeman. You will be seeing some snaps later on.
Hard to keep 4 running backs happy, I'll say that. But what it does, competition, you practice hard, and when you get in the game, you better do the right thing, and you better let it all go.
Julio Jones wide to the left. 2 receivers to the right on 2nd and goal. And Ryan's going to stay on the ground, and immediately thrown down is Rogers. Nice play there.
Number 92, Golston on that tackle. They like this guy as far as the run game goes. Maybe not a speed outside player, but can knock linemen around, really hold the tight ends up, and that time just came right down the line of scrimmage and made the tackle. They needed somebody to make a play in the backfield. 3rd down, what do? If you play soft, it's going to give Matt Ryan extra time to throw the football. That could be trouble, and they're going to lay back.
3rd and goal. Ryan looking back at the end zone. Julio Jones. Touchdown Falcons.
Again, Matt Ryan knows he has protection. No quick pressure. Julio Jones comes out here, the running back. It doesn't open up the way he wants it early. He understands. Coverage looks pretty good. Nobody open as you see it, but he moves, and that movement, once again, receiver uncovers. And that's the story of the year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No pressure on the quarterback.
You know, you saw Jones and Jonathan Banks trying to establish their turf, and eventually Jones was just able to find freedom. Hard to believe he'd be that wide open. 2 drives, 2 touchdowns, 2 touchdown passes by Matt Ryan. This one to Julio Jones. Tomorrow on NFL Total Access, Phillip Rivers is on Chargers Cam to discuss last week's big win over Seattle. NFL Total Access tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, live on NFL Network. Atlanta had not scored a first quarter touchdown its first 2 games. Boy, I tell you what, I wonder if Lovie Smith regrets deferring to the second half.
Do you think it mattered? You know, if you can't pressure the quarterback, what the defense they're playing is not going to work. We talked about that in the opening. It's not time maybe now to abandon your game plan, but it's getting close on the defensive side.
Oh, and a stutter step decision here by Patton. And he runs into a wall, and the ball is out at the 10. The ball comes out. That may have ruled him down first.
Forward progress, that's what they're ruling.
The ruling on the field is that the returner's forward progress had stopped. 1st down and 10, Tampa Bay.
Boy, Solomon Patton, the rookie from Florida. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by America's Navy and by Microsoft Surface, the official tablet of the NFL. So the player ruled down by contact and forward progress to the 10. That is not reviewable. Just the 4th snap for the Bucs, already down 14-0. They're going to throw on 1st down as McCown's pass sails over the head of Vincent Jackson. And let's bring in Mike Carey, our rules expert. Mike, walk us through this.
Well, although the ball came out before he was down by contact, the official ruled forward progress a good call. And of course, as you said, Jim, that is not reviewable.
Well, Jim's a frustrated referee, you know that. So he likes to get up here and call him out.
Hey, he can do it.
I know this. Tampa Bay's got to find a way to get some 1st downs, to change field position, rest their defense, and get some confidence.
Out of the gun on 2nd and 10. McCown got time. Open man, and the pass a little high, but it should have been caught. Robert Perron was open
He was. The pass outside was a little high, too. It got away from him. Sometimes early in the game, you got to get a sweat going and get a feel for the football. It is just out of the reach. You know, when you play quarterback in the NFL now, it's not a bad thing to throw them high over the middle. Why? Because you got to be careful how you hit the receivers. They know they're protected.
High but very catchable, and now it's 3rd and 10. Still looking for a first down of the game. Atlanta already with 10 first downs and a couple of touchdowns. And McCown's pass is picked, and here we go to the end zone for the touchdown. Kamal Ishmael returns it, the pick 6.
Well, there were people at McCown's feet. It took a little long, and he's trying to find the receiver, and he just can't get enough on the football. But that is one of those cases where the defensive back truly did read the eyes of the quarterback. Saw him looking to his left, and Ishmael timed it perfectly. What a clean catch.
Boy, he jumped right in front of Vincent Jackson, and it was Corey Peters who was applying the pressure by McCown by his feet. And what a disastrous start this has been for the Buccaneers. Ishmael, in his 7th career game, has a touchdown in prime time. And it's 21-0 still in the first quarter. 20-yard run back and a touchdown. Atlanta with 14 points in 25 seconds.
Watch Ishmael, number 36. He's back there. They got a double team on Vincent Jackson. Outside, inside. That allows him to jump, read the quarterback. Really well done. Vincent Jackson trying to go down to the markers, get past the first down. And for Josh McCown, this is where you just got to toughen up and go out there and grind out a few plays and get some first downs and try to get back into this game.
And Ishmael now on the kick coverage for the Falcons. Patton, who really hurt him last time when he decided after a pause to try to run it back, and he got tackled at the 10 and eventually led to that pick 6. We have Mike Smith mic'd up tonight to listen in to what he had to say a moment ago.
Pretty good. You know, Mike Smith, he's a nice guy. But when we talked to him this week, you could feel the little bit of whatever. Tension, that's not the word, but it's just so dissatisfied with their game in Cincinnati. And they really slugged it out quite a while with the Bengals, but then they let it get away from them. Turnovers, I think they were a little impatient, not staying with the run. And let's don't forget it, the Bengals are a really good football team.
Yeah, it's about time people start recognizing that. 1st and 10, and they stop Rainey again. No gain.
Well, here when you're down like this, 21-0, I talked about what the quarterback has to do. This is when you really have to be a leader, get in that huddle and reassure the guys. Come on, and just try to give everybody a little confidence. And the biggest thing is, it really is on Josh McCown's shoulders here. Good decisions, keep fighting, and just get a first down.
Haven't had one yet. McCown 1 of 5 with the pick 6 to boot. He's got a completion to Rainey, who slips through a tackle and has the Bucs first down. He fumbles, and the Falcons recover. Incredible. Warlow knocked it out of his hands. And it's recovered by Dwight Lowry.
The most aggressive team usually wins in the NFL, and that's what the Falcons are playing aggressive. They're going after the football. Of course, when you got a 21-0 lead, man, you could let it go. And does not have two hands on the football. You're being tackled. Warlow has him. That's when you know you're going down. You got to protect the football with two hands.
3 takeaways by the Falcons defense in a 5.5-minute stretch. And Rainey getting the start tonight with Doug Martin inactive with the knee. But coming off a huge game, Rainey.
I'd play safe, be alert. They might try to score and just get this over with.
Play action.
Double move.
Going to Hester. Hester is open. He's led just a bit too much, but they've got a flag. Got a flag. Back near the 20 where Hester created separation from Werner.
Well, they blocked it up, moved the quarterback, and
Prior to the pass, illegal contact, defense number 21. That's a 5-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
Couldn't you feel it coming, Jim, that they were going to go for it that time?
Absolutely.
Good defensive contact there. Stop the touchdown. Those numbers, Falcons, 110 yards, 159 yards total offense here in the first quarter.
Freeman now in the backfield. As Rainey is trying to come to grips with his fumble. And no gain for Devontae Freeman, rookie from Florida State. Monday, don't miss the season premiere of The Big Bang Theory. 2 back-to-back episodes on its new night, Monday at 8/7 Central. Only CBS.
Well, sometimes you got to just say to yourself, okay, I've had enough. And if you're on the defense of Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I hope you've had enough. You got to get in there and fight. A fight broke out, and they're not fighting. When I say fight, the people up front.
They got no one on Hester in the slot over here to the right. On 2nd and 10. And Ryan's in trouble, and he is dropped.
Well, that time they did a good job. It really was. They just crushed the pocket. And Akeem Spence, he's made a couple plays already. Boy, nice job inside. Dane Fletcher just blew up Joe Hawley, went right by him. Good job by the linebacker.
A loss of 7 off the Fletcher sack.
I think you got to be aggressive here on 3rd down. We've seen it when they play soft defense. That extra time, he's finding receivers.
3rd and 17. Right at the first down yardage. Jones with the grab. And it looks like he has enough for a first down. Needed 17, got 17. They'll have a first down in the red zone when the second quarter begins. After 1, Atlanta 21, Tampa Bay nothing. You're watching Thursday Night Football. Still Sims here in Atlanta after an explosive first quarter by the Falcons. From the 20 of the Bucs, Hester to the 10 to the 5, and almost untouched. Takes it home for the touchdown.
Well, we've seen a couple plays already by the Buccaneers defense. They're just over pursuing, and they don't know where to look. Which car do you chase? And that time, everybody caught inside. And on the outside, that was Larry English. He has the backside support. Watch 57, he goes too low, doesn't stay high enough. And man, oh man, Devin Hester, yeah, he might have got touched just before he jumped the end zone. How fast does he look on this turf?
20 yards to open up the quarter. And now the Falcons have 3 touchdowns in 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
I heard something interesting about Devin Hester.
Yeah.
Dirk Cutter, the offensive coordinator, says, you know, he's got a big chip on his shoulder, he thought, because of the receiving part never worked out like he wanted it to while he was in Chicago.
Defense, neutral zone infraction. That penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
I mean, can you sense a little of that, Jim?
No question. Last year he did not take a single snap at wide receiver for the Bears. But, you know, now he had in his career, though, 14 receiving touchdowns. This is a guy with 13 punt return touchdowns, 5 kick return touchdowns, 1 missed field goal return touchdown.
Right.
And you just saw his first ever rush touchdown. 5 different ways.
This wide open offense with him in the slot and running, this really fits his style as a receiver.
How about this? We were watching film, and I said, when Hester was at Chicago, he never looked like a wide receiver when he was on offense, but in this offense, it doesn't look like the same guy. He looks like he belongs out there.
No, he doesn't. And let's go back and look at that reverse. Oh, no, let's go back to the third down play where they should have got off the field. This play, that'll get you going if you're a defensive coach. Julio Jones is basically double covered. Watch as he goes down. Most of the time you go like this. Oh, then we got to draw it up. I'm sorry. And he doesn't take it outside. He stops. Look at it. Catches the defense by surprise. And they're playing so soft it allows him to get the first down. Well, they had a hard time finding people to block down the field.
How about the security guard? Something about him, though, he does look different when he lines up on offense than what he did in his early years.
You know, the one thing, too, that was interesting, they weren't sure when they got it.
Let's listen to Mike Smith again, watching this unfold.
There! Hey! Nice ball. Right away. Right away. Hey! That's a good ball.
I know what Mike Smith said to him. He says, hey, I am glad we paid you more money or offered you more money than Tampa did. But they brought him here, Jim, and they didn't treat him like, oh, we're going to give you a few plays and have a special little passing offense for you. Hey, you're just one of the group. Find your way, and we see he has found his way here in Atlanta.
Well, he's already forced a turnover in this game when he got the ball back on the double fumble play. He had a 50-yard punt return that was wiped out because of penalty. He created another illegal contact when they went to him in the end zone, and now he has a rush touchdown on the reverse. They kicked off from the 40 because of the 5-yard mock-off against the Bucs on the extra point. And the run back, alas, only to the 22 by Solomon Patton. Saturday, the nation's top conference rocks on. Florida Gators against the Alabama Crimson Tide on the Home Depot SEC on CBS. It all begins with college football today at 3 o'clock Eastern time here on CBS.
Well, the unfortunate part for Tampa Bay, many of them, they're down 28-0. Just to think you're going to come out here and just start throwing the football, that's going to be a mistake. Because these defensive linemen, they got one thing in their mind, get to the quarterback.
Mike James has replaced Rainey at running back, and James out of the University of Miami, who had a good stretch last year before he got a season-ending injury. He's held to a couple. So Rainey fumbles, and he is taken out for the next series.
Well, all Lovie Smith talked about it was the turnovers, and they were a huge factor in them lose. And I know you're going to turn the ball over in the NFL, but they were the unforced kind. They gave them away. They weren't takeaways.
2nd and 8. And McCown with a flag out is within a yard of the first.
Well, it gets hard to throw the football.
Holding.
Watch this as he goes down the field.
Number 66. 10-yard penalty. Replay, 2nd down.
He's wide open as he can throw over the top. But when you're down in a game and you've made mistakes, boy, you double think so many decisions as a quarterback. And this is the time where you look at your offensive coordinator, Jim, and go, give me some easy throws. Give me those coach 'em up plays. In other words, where the coaches design it, and they just tell you to throw it to this guy, and he's open.
And there's the man calling the plays, Marcus Arroyo, the quarterback coach, who's actually younger than the quarterback by 6 months.
Jeff Tedford, the offensive coordinator.
He's not here tonight.
Not here.
After reaching angioplasty. And there's a throw, and man was open. Vincent Jackson. Jeff Tedford had a heart procedure this summer, 2 stints. He attended those first 2 games at home but did not call the plays. He did not travel with the team here as he's expected to return for the next game. We wish him all the best.
Sat in Lovie Smith's basement this offseason, or last season. They were both taking a year off and they just talk football, watch a lot of film. That's the reason Lovie Smith hired him in Tampa.
3rd and 17, setting up a screen, and that's going to be dropped for a loss. And it's Corey Peters bringing down Mike James, and a loss of 5 in another terrible series for Tampa Bay.
Corey Peters, number 91. Here he is inside. A couple big plays, had a good hit. Read that screen right away because the offensive lineman released so fast down the field that the defensive lineman, he read it, looked outside, made a nice tackle.
Devin Hester standing near midfield. And Kanan with the punt. And 50-yard punt, and Hester tried to field it and got decked right away by Shepard, Russell Shepard. But Hester high steps it to the end zone and has a hug for one unsuspecting security guard.
Well, Matt Ryan, we talked about how much he is moving this year. The initial route's not open, he moves, and that quick movement and his quick decision to run opens up the receiver. The next time, nobody open. He slides in the pocket, gives extra time, and Julio Jones open in the back of the end zone. He's been doing it. I've noticed more quarterbacks who are not so-called scramblers moving this year more, and I believe that's the way you play the position now.
He's 11 out of 12 with the 2 touchdown passes, and that pass one hops in the area of Julio Jones. Just a few miles away from here, home of Georgia Tech, Bobby Dodd Stadium, and on that site, 98 years ago, the most lopsided college football game of all time. Georgia Tech beat Cumberland College 222-0.
Now, why are you bringing up such a lopsided loss?
I'm just saying. The coach, by the way, at Georgia Tech, John Heisman.
There you go, John Heisman. Of course,
we're not giving up on this one yet.
No.
I'm just saying, it was just a short distance down the way. As this one's as lopsided as I've seen in a long time. No gain there for Jackson, and Fletcher's made a couple of plays, including a sack.
He came in last week, and when he came in late in the game for Foster, I thought he played well and picking up where he left off. Now on 3rd down. What do? Well, I think you got to try to pressure these receivers a little bit at the line of scrimmage. They're getting free runs up the field. Look how far the defensive backs are off. When you can run free, easy to get open.
Let's see if Tampa Bay can get him off the field. Ryan on the run, throws. No, he's got another first down. He's found Julio Jones again at the 41 of the Bucs, and a gain of 21.
Well, a couple things. They are way off the receivers. That's one thing at the bottom of the screen. But they roll this guy. They got a blitz coming, and Matt Ryan sees it. He knows he's in trouble. He can see him out of the corner of his eye. And the fact that look how far that he didn't know who to throw to. All 3 were open. That was a good job. Tampa caught the quarterback, but his movement once again gave him another play.
First down from the 42. Wow. Butting heads and shoulder pads, falling for a couple. And Steven Jackson, Tuesday on CBS, the season premiere you've been waiting for. TV's #1 drama, NCIS, is back in action Tuesday at 8, 7 Central.
I was down on the field before the game. I came up, what I tell you, Jim? I said, man, I stood right behind Matt Ryan. He was throwing. I said, oh my gosh, is he flushing? I mean, it just, the numbers are 211 turnovers, time of possession, everything. But it's like you playing golf. Every time he hits the driver, it's solid right down the middle.
I wish.
Well, in your dreams, you know,
exactly.
It's kind of like what you want it to be.
2nd and 8. And another open man, it's Douglas. To the 28, move the chains again.
Well, I got to say this too. Our Tony Gonzalez, he was at the pregame, and he's over there watching it. Kind of gets the juices flowing because he just got out of the game. What do you think he's thinking now? Boy, I'd like to be catching some of these.
Yeah, I'd have a couple.
Yeah.
I have a couple touchdowns by now.
And let me tell you something else. There's Tony. Let me tell you something else. All these guys, they loved him as a teammate, but they go, hey, look, he's gone more catches for us, especially the inside receivers.
Gabe Karimi at right tackle for this series in for Lamar Holmes.
Yeah, he comes in. That's a really good backup. He plays well at right tackle.
Former first-round pick of the Bears, and Ryan. How about that catch? Jones, I believe he's down, but he's got the catch, and he's over 100 yards already.
Well, when you're hot and you got it going, it goes your way. Preston Butler on the coverage, all over the receiver, looks inside, misses the football, and what a catch by Julio Jones. Contact takes him to the ground, so he is going to be ruled down.
Seventh catch for 111 yards.
Man, this game, you know, back in 1980, I played a game just like this. Dan Fouts, San Diego Chargers out there. I think they scored every time they had the ball. By the end of the first quarter, I knew that. What was that song? San Diego Chargers? I knew the words.
You had it down. The Superchargers.
Superchargers.
First and 10. And again, the Falcons. Ball comes out. The ball is out, and they did not rule him down at the 1. That was Anton Smith. And do the Bucs finally have a little bit of a break?
Hey, Joe Hawley went into that pile like a groundhog looking for that football.
Still on the Zena signal. Fletcher has the football in his hands right now, and Hawley's making his case. Rolstad's going to rule.
Ruling on the field is a fumble recovered by Tampa Bay. First down 10.
Boy, just when Anton Smith and the Falcons were about to go in. Fumbles at the 1. NFL Thursday Night Football, sponsored by McDonald's, official sponsor of the NFL. I'm loving it. Corona, who invites you to find your beach. And by Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving. Tampa Bay recovers a fumble. Beautiful skyline of downtown Atlanta. This city loving this first half of action, although they just coughed it up going in again. From the 1. And James remains the running back and has a carry of 2. The first 2 Tampa Bay games were at home, and they were close. They lost them both, first to Carolina, and then last week against St. Louis. They thought they might have a chance at the end to attempt a winning field goal, but Mike Evans, the rookie, their first-round pick out of A&M, caught it, was injured on the play, and they had the 10-second runoff, and they at last never had a chance to kick the field goal try for the victory. 2nd and 9. And they run James again, who gets it near the 6. They call themselves Scorpion, 4 of the smartest people in the world working together to fight threats against America. And inspired by a true story, Scorpion premieres Monday after The Big Bang Theory, only CBS. See Tyson Jackson walking off, the former 3rd overall pick of the 2009 draft by the Kansas City Chiefs. Came here as a free agent in the offseason for Atlanta. 3rd and 6. Count from the goal line. And over the head of Haran.
Well, Josh McCown, did he hurt his hand that time? It looked like he might have hit something, but nobody's open. He tries to stay in the pocket as long as he can. Oh, he hit right in the face mask. Well, that's McLean, the defensive back. But he basically threw the football away, Jim. Everybody down the field was covered and covered tightly.
You see Arroyo talking to McCown and Glennon leaning in. And they're getting some assistance to Logan Mankins walking off the field.
Yeah, Logan Mankins on that first run play or the second one, he pulled, and boy, he had a collision. He got up.
Of course, he hurt his knee in week 1 just after he had arrived in Tampa in the trade a few days before week 1.
Came back and played last week. What Lovie Smith said, look, he's tough. He played while he was beat up, and he's done everything they've wanted. You know, he conducts himself like a leader. He works hard, and he's a tremendous example, a good player and a good example for the rest of the linemen.
We're halfway through the second quarter, and the Bucs still do not have a first down. We thought they had one on the pass play to Rainey, but he fumbled, so it did not go in the books. He fumbled on that very play. 16 first downs for Atlanta. As you look at the numbers, 5 total turnovers in the game.
Well, in this league now, if you don't pressure the quarterback, look at the open spots in this zone down the field. Play actions over the middle. There is so much real estate. Well, okay, this time 4 defenders chasing Harry Douglas. Fullback out in the flat, wide open.
You know, I know you're very sensitive to quarterbacks and when you make a change in the middle of a game, but would you not think about bringing in Mike Glennon? He started both games against Atlanta last year and had 2 really good showings, including 4 touchdowns and no picks.
Well, no, I wouldn't. Lovie Smith says they have a plan. He's going to stay with the plan. Maybe late in the game, you give Mike Glennon some steps. But you don't make that decision, I don't think, Jim, this early.
Kanan, beautiful punt. As Hester retreats to the 38, and he's past everybody. Except the punter, and he breezes past him, and it's Devin Hester's night to high step. He's just broken Deion Sanders' record. He was tied with Deion for 19 career total return touchdowns. That's number 20. Standalone now at the top of the record books. Devin Hester. 62-yard run.
The touchdown counts during the touchdown. Unsportsmanlike conduct, taunting on the receiving team, number 17. That penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
You know what happens, Jim? It's like a good running back. When they break tackles, it fires up the offensive line. And when you have a guy like this, Devin Hester on the return team, everybody that's out there, they know if we just get a little block, that we're going to give our guy a chance to go all the way.
Of course, Deion is in the building, and he gives Deion a little tribute here, which he gets a flag for.
Oh, there you go.
But grew up idolizing Deion, known him for most of his life, mentored by Primetime, and in front of him tonight, showcasing all of his skills with now a second touchdown on the night. 35-0. There it is. The record holder, all alone, moving past the man that he tried to model his career after. How about Devin Hester tonight performing like this against the man who brought him into the league, Lovie Smith, who again called him a lifetime family member, and now they just announced he has the record. There's Deion. We actually have arguably, well, there's no argument about Devin and Deion, but I'll give you even the 3rd greatest returner arguably in the history of the game. He's also in the building tonight, Billy White Shoes Johnson. So there's Billy White Shirt Johnson and White Shoes Johnson. Boy, I love Billy. His years with the Houston Oilers and the magic he had down here with the Falcons. He's now an assistant football coach here in the Atlanta area at Duluth High School.
It's Keith Armstrong, the special teams coordinator.
Penalty forces him to kick it from the 20, and Patton again, he takes a pretty good licking.
Oh, what a dumb penalty way after the play is over. I'm not going to say I think it was an offensive player. Plays over, comes in, gives him a headbutt and a hit.
After the play, personal foul, return team number 88. That 15-yard penalty will go from the end of the run, first down, Tampa Bay.
It's Luke Stocker, their backup tight end.
Yeah. Well, it's an embarrassing night for the Tampa Bay Bucs, no doubt about it, and in so many levels. You know, their energy when they came out, blown assignments, we've seen that, missed passes, the protection's not good enough. And look, you know, Jim, how about kicking the football to Devin Hester a few times?
I don't understand.
That is a huge mistake. Either the coaches or the punter are making that mistake.
On first down, McCown going for a long ball. And he's got Mike Evans, but a flag is out. Flag at the 35-yard line. Mike Evans, the 7th pick in this year's draft.
Holding. Defense, number 21. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a first down.
36-yard gain will stand. Let's go down to Tracy Wolfson.
Well, thanks, Jim. You were talking about the mood of this Tampa Bay sideline. They are just in shock. Basically, a what has happened look on everyone's face. A lot of head shaking. Gerald McCoy, their defensive and emotional leader, unable to be out there with a broken hand, clipboard in hand, and just trying to give words of encouragement to the line. But you can tell he just feels helpless down here as well. Jim?
Bucs just picked up their first down. And McCown throwing again. And he's got Rainey. And maybe has another one. You know you're in trouble when you have 6 minutes to go in the second quarter and your kick returner has handled the football more times than your quarterback or running back.
Well, you're down. You know what? Like I said, you got to tough it out. Because I'll tell you this. The Atlanta Falcons are not going to slow down. The crowd's into it. Everybody's standing up. Their emotions are flying high, and on defense, they know they can take a chance.
No, they want more. They want a lot more. Rainey was a yard short, 2nd and 1. And McCown, he is walloped. Taken down by Massaquoi. And that is the first sack of the season.
Well, the pass coverage down the field. Let's look. Nobody's covering a tight end over the middle. But Massaquoi gets there before he can throw it. Uncovered a receiver in the middle of the field. But McCown does not have that split second extra time, and boy, he gets crushed.
Yeah, that again, the Falcons' first sack all season. They were the only team in the league without one the first 2 weeks.
Well, they're getting rid of a lot of demons tonight.
A loss of 8.
Scoring in the first quarter. Pressuring the quarterback, a sack.
3rd and 9, and they were coming in on McCown, and he unloads it for Jackson over his head.
Well, if he had time, boy, he's grabbing that hand
yeah, his
again,
hands
Jim.
is an issue now.
And if he has time, he is going to hit Vincent Jackson. Oh, my gosh, they blow the protection.
Human Yura, though,
yep,
was on top of him.
I was trying to watch, helmet to helmet. That could have been called, too, but they didn't see it.
So now Hester is trotting back to the 20 and now the 10. You would think that Kanan here would head for the sidelines with this one. But no, it's middle of the field. The fair catch called. At the 11, 34-yard boot. A little bit of everything tonight from Hester, including a forced fumble on a bizarre play. 2 touchdowns, 35-0 Atlanta. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by AARP, Real Possibilities. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. The Georgia Aquarium, just a few blocks from the Georgia Dome. 10 million gallons of marine and fresh water. Big tourist attraction here in downtown at the 11-yard line. With 4:51 to go in the first half, Hester in a slot to the right. They're going to throw on first down. And Ryan escapes the sack, picks up a couple. Got a flag out.
That was the first time, Jim, this game that they bumped all the receivers. And they didn't get open so fast.
Matt Ryan thinks it's going to be a call here against the defense. Look who's going to the locker room. Josh McCown heading in.
There's no foul on the play as the quarterback had already crossed the line of scrimmage. It'll be second down.
Well, it was a little change of strategy. Mike Glennon warming up, so we saw for the second time Josh McCown hitting his hand.
Yeah, he hit his hand again on the face mask,
gosh.
the helmet of McLean. That was 2 series ago. Second and 8. Flags everywhere now as Rodgers puts up a pretty good fight before he falls down. Gain of 4. So you've got a Falcon. It's Douglas injured.
There are 2 fouls on the play, 1 on each team. Holding offense, number 63. Holding defense, number 27. Those penalties will offset. Replay, second down.
Harry Douglas is down. He tried to make his way over to the Atlanta sideline and then gave up. Douglas, who scored the game's first touchdown tonight. As you see, Roddy White sitting this one out with a hamstring injury. We'll be right back to Atlanta. Harry Douglas, he is heading in as well. First it was McCown a moment ago on the Tampa side. He's gone to the locker room. Now Douglas. But tonight, Devin Hester, what a show. Here he reaches in, forces a fumble. It's actually change of possession. It leads to a score. Later, takes the end around. 20 yards for the touchdown, and then the 62-yard punt return for another touchdown. Another flag.
Five-yard penalty, still second down.
Let's get a report from Tracy.
Well, thanks, Jim. I just got word from the Bucs that it is Josh McCown's right thumb. His return is questionable. We'll have more information after half.
Well, again, we've seen Glennon warming up. Second and 13 to the ground. Squeezed through a small hole as Rodgers with yet another flag. 4 consecutive plays.
Decline. Holding. Offense, number 75. That penalty is declined. Result of the play is third down.
Coming up, the Lexus halftime report with JB, Coach Cowher. Can't wait to hear what Dion has to say as well. Special guest Tony Gonzalez back in Atlanta. We'll break down all the first half action on the Lexus halftime report.
Well, did we see our first, well, not our first, but Ray Guy going to the Hall of Fame this year as a punter.
3rd and 11. And that ball was tipped by Levante David. Atlanta's going to have its first punt.
Good job by Levante David, knowing the situation, getting deep enough where he was able to touch that football and keep it from being complete.
You were talking about Ray Guy going into the Hall of Fame this year, and Devin Hester was asked about it. And he said that just opened it up
for
all
teamers.
special teams
Yes.
players. And hey, now that you have the all-time record for returns, total returns, you had the punt return record by a mile. You got to think it's a pretty strong case down the road. Here's the punt hopping around to the 45. And Patton has a 7-yard run back. Listen in now. Again, Coach Mike Smith mic'd up, and listen to his exchange with Devin Hester.
Hey, that's why you're here. Hey, What's the matter, bro? So happy, man. Yeah, you should be. You just friggin' ran 2 in already. You should feel happy. Let's go. Right? Hey, let's go get another one.
Well, that's really telling. And he was somewhat overcome by the fact that he had just achieved that.
Well, geez, the
broken Deion's record,
an all-time
is
record in the NFL.
1st and 10 with Glennon in at quarterback. And Glennon, he's a big kid, out of NC State. He's got a completion short throw on his first snap. You know, you look at the numbers. McCown, again, named immediately the starter when they signed him, and to be a mentor to Glennon. But Glennon is a rookie. I mean, those were over 2-to-1 touchdowns to picks.
60% basically. You're right. I thought he played very well last year. And we talked about it. Lovie Smith, I thought, did the right thing, name a starter, but they really like Mike Glennon.
Here's Glennon, and that ball's jarred out as Jackson was open. It's Robert Alford who knocks it out, sets up 3rd and 5. 16-1 first downs. As Glennon tries to somehow get the play call in, trying to make sure he can hear things just right. He was a 3rd-round pick, again out of North Carolina State a year ago. Had those 13 starts for a team that went 4-12, but 2 games against the Falcons, he did not get intercepted once, threw 4 touchdowns. And he's got a first down on target with Mike Evans.
I was going to say, if they didn't get it, Jim, I thought they would go for it on 4th down. And you talk about Mike Glennon, good career at North Carolina State, well taught like a professional quarterback there by Dana Bible, who was the offensive coordinator. And Lovie Smith said, yeah, people were right that they were going to trade him. He goes, people called, but there was no way, he said, we were going to trade him. They liked him that much, and they do think he's the quarterback of the future.
He's got their 2nd first down of the game, but he is sacked at the 44 by Peters and others, and we've reached a 2-minute warning. Atlanta 35, Tampa Bay nothing. We'll return with Thursday Night Football in just a moment. Jim Nance, Bill Sims, back here with Tracy Wolfson and Mike Carey. And 35-0 and Lovie Smith. I don't even know what your message is to your team at halftime, but they got 2 minutes to go with possession at the Atlanta 43.
Well, they slugged it out with the Carolina Panthers week 1. It was a good, solid game, and they had somewhat of a chance with the football late. Lost a tough one to St. Louis.
It's Glennon throwing, and just out of reach for Mike Evans.
But you got a new staff, a short week, trying to still install what they're doing really on both sides of the offense, on both sides of the football. You got injuries to really key players. Your offensive coordinator's not here, Jim. I mean, there's a lot to deal with. I'll give them that. But no doubt, lack of discipline. There's been many opportunities on the offensive side to make plays. The defense, which I did not see 2 snaps where they got out of position in the first 2 games. I've seen 10 here in the first half, and that is something you can control.
3rd and 17. They go underneath to Evans. He stiff arms, but retreats 3 or 4 yards after that. It'll be 4th down.
Well, it's not Texas A&M. You can't catch it and run sideways in the NFL. Well, you're down 35-0. There's no doubt. You got to punt this football. Because you just don't want, it gets embarrassing. The offense is hot for Atlanta. You don't want to give them another easy opportunity to score points against you.
Well, the Falcons just called the timeout. They want to do a little business before the half ends. You know, Tampa last year was last in the league in total offense. And even though Lovey's built his reputation as a defensive coach, rightfully so, look at their signings and then the trade for Mankins, their key signings here, the offensive slant, the draft class entirely offense. Not a single defensive player drafted.
But, you know, listen, this football team was loaded on the defensive front. That was going to be what this team was all about. And, you know, when you lose Gerald McCoy, Michael Johnson, I haven't seen him out there today. Maybe their best pass rusher, Adrian Claiborne, out for the year. You lost your middle linebacker.
Canaan's punt again earns the fair catch at the 14. 29-yard boot. Coming up, the Lexus halftime report. James Brown will lead the discussion with Coach Cowher, with Dion, and special guest Tony Gonzalez. They're going to break down all the first half action. Look at this. Dion back in his Atlanta days.
It's pretty good by Devin.
Yeah, and pretty well imitated by Hester, no question.
Of course, at 15 yards, when you got a big lead, you can put up with that penalty.
We talked about how Hester has done so many different things here tonight, including even forcing a fumble that led to a touchdown. As there's the completion to Julio Jones, and he's got an 8th catch. How about Dion? Dion's first week as a Falcon, he not only had a 68-yard punt return for a touchdown against the Rams for the Falcons' first score of the season. That same week, he hit a home run for the Yankees. Talk about a guy that could do it all. Remember that time when he was doubling? Hester, though, is getting some attention here.
It might be well, I hate to speculate, but you hope it's a cramp. You know, I want to go to I'll watch Devin Hester here. Oh, yeah, he got it right off the line of scrimmage when he made that first quick move. I'm going to Lovie Smith. What do you do the rest of the game? And Jim, I think as a head coach in a position like this, you really make your decisions and play the game just like it's 0-0. And, you know, just realize and just try to get some good work in. That's what you're doing. So, you know, you don't gamble every time the opportunity's there. You just play the game solid, just like if you were still involved, they're still close. And see how your football team responds.
Approaching a minute to go, and they dump it across the middle to Freeman for a gain of 7. Courtney Roby is now in it. Receiver as Hester went to the sidelines, and of course Roddy White out for the game, and Harry Douglas injured earlier. So they're down to only at the moment 3 wideouts. 2nd and 3, wide open at the 50. It's Eric Weems, another former Bear who played for Coach Lovie Smith back in 2012 in Chicago. He has his first catch of the season for 19.
Wide open.
Yeah, this is like their 5th or 6th receiver who was wide open for 19. Oh, and he catches it again, loses his helmet, and the play ends at that point. As Weems has a catch for the 2nd straight play. Timeout called by the Falcons. Looking around for a helmet, trying to find a spare one.
As you watch this play, watch Weems as he goes down the field. You're going to get the defense, and just look at the separation and how wide open. They're trying to disguise the coverage. The safety coming all the way over, and that disguise does nothing to Matt Ryan. All he is doing, looking at Weems to the underneath receiver, and he is wide open.
11 seconds to go, and they're out of timeouts, and Atlanta's just trying to close the first half with another score. They're still on the attack.
It's 35-0. This is not rubbing it in or piling on or nothing like this. This is the NFL. You know, listen, it's Tampa Bay's job to stop this Atlanta offense. I had no problem with this hurry up and trying to do this before halftime.
Out of bounds at the 41 with 6 seconds to go. It's Rodgers.
You know, like I talked about, you know, Tampa Bay's got to play this just like You know, it's crucial or whatever, so you get in certain situations, if it warrants, that's when you try to put some pressure on the quarterback.
That little gain there gave him enough to bring out the long-range field goal try by Matt Bryant from 59 yards. 59. Now he had a 50-plus yard kick in the last minute to force overtime week 1 and then won it from outside of 50 against the Saints. He's got a big leg. 59. And it's just wide to close out the half.
Looks like it had the distance. Yes, it did. Had enough distance, but when you put that extra effort into it, that's what throws it off target.
They've gone back and put a second on the clock. And of course, the ball is at the point of where the attempt was made. Assuming there's no Hail Mary completion here by Tampa Bay, they will tie the largest halftime lead in Falcon franchise history.
Well, you get a situation here, you know, for the quarterback and what you got to do since you're 51 yards away from the end zone. You'd like to buy a little time and move around to allow your receivers to get a chance to get all the way down the field.
Tampa called a timeout. Glennon loosening up the arm. 6'6" lean quarterback. Who's they've got the tallest set of receivers in the game as far as starters go, with 6'5" Vincent Jackson, 6'5" Mike Evans.
You know, they don't have a third quarterback dress, so.
There's Julio Jones playing a defensive snap.
It's a good idea. We've seen it a lot over the years. Put a wide receiver, somebody knows how to go up, jump up and knock it down.
Stepping up, launching it all the way to the end zone. And how did Jones not catch that? How did he not catch that? I was just tapping it down.
Because he's not used to running towards the football. He's running down the field when they come his way.
He's having a good laugh about it anyway. Not sure if he was in between knocking it down or going ahead and trying to make the pick. He's had a big enough half anyway with 8 catches, 121 yards and a touchdown. And what a half it was for Atlanta, annihilating the Buccaneers 35-0 at the intermission. Douglas for the touchdown. Julio Jones pass is picked, and it's Devin Hester's right to high step. Florida-Georgia line. Florida here tonight. Getting trampled by a team from Georgia, 35-0. And now, who do you love? Presented by McDonald's. As Ryan gave it on the reverse to Devin Hester. And I don't think anybody got a hand on him. Maybe just a little touch near the goal line. 1 of 2 touchdowns in that first half by Devin Hester, 35-0. You said it in the second quarter. Second half of your Tampa. Just got to come out here and, you know, you're going to see Glennon now at quarterback. You got to play it like it's a scoreless game. You're just starting over. What do you expect you're going to see, though, from the Bucs?
Well, the same thing. Bill Cowher said it. That's what you have to do. Change what you're doing a little bit on each side of the ball. You have to think that the Atlanta Falcons won't be as aggressive on either side of the ball. I expect Matt Ryan, if he plays, to be very conservative. But every phase of the game, the Bucs played bad in the first half, no doubt.
What do you see from the numbers?
Well, I see domination. 18 first downs to 2 says it all. 300 total yards. Listen, in the NFL, you do not see these things happen. You don't even see this up much more in college football. But Matt Ryan, terrific first half. I've never seen wide receivers so open. Jim, I don't think we've done a game where I could see the wide receivers as open as I've seen here tonight. And Matt Ryan actually missed a couple guys. So can't imagine what would have happened if he'd have just been razor sharp.
Well, he was 19 of 22 for 221.
It's unbelievable.
2 touchdowns. And that kick is through the back of the end zone and the touchback. Let's go down to Tracy Wolfson.
Well, thanks a lot, Jim. I had a chance to speak with Lovie Smith coming out of the locker room. He said he was just embarrassed by that first half. He said they need to come out and try and get something going, but it is going to be Mike Glennon's job as Josh McCown is out with the right thumb injury. Some updates on the Falcons sideline. Devin Hester has cramps. If they can loosen him up, he'll be back out there. Harry Douglas still questionable with a foot injury. Jim?
All right, thank you, Tracy. And that was the word that you used in that first half. Lovey saying just embarrassed. And let's see what they can present here. The final 30 minutes of this one. They start with a running play with Rainey, and he twists for about 4. Bobby Rainey.
You know, Jim, when you have a game like this is not something you'd like, oh, we'll turn this around right away. It's a slow building process in this league. And, you know, when your offense is struggling or whatever, I was on teams like that, you just don't all but come out in a game and just catch fire and get it going again. There's Josh McCown on the sideline, his hand wrapped up.
Boy, is it ever.
Bill Cowher said it right. They're going to have 10 days to think about this, and there'll be some hard work put in.
2nd and 6. They dump it off to Rainey. Tries to slide away from McLean and manages a yard. 3rd and 5 coming up. And Josh McCown, after a couple of bumpy performances the first 2 weeks, tonight, I think I heard Coach Cowher talk about no rhythm. And then, of course, he had this throw where his hand ended up right up against the helmet, the thumb hitting the helmet of McLean.
When I watched their first 2 games, when there was a guy open, he hit him. Tonight just didn't, you said it right, the rhythm wasn't there, the confidence, missed one early, and it kind of affected him.
3rd and 5, and Glennon escapes the pressure. He's got the first down. As Jackson does a good job of shielding Ishmael, and Glennon is going to hustle back to that huddle. And here's a young man that has a good reason to come out here and put up a spirited second half, the quarterback.
Yeah, it's a good job. Listen, and we talked about this with Matt Ryan in the first half. As a quarterback, don't sit in there and live and die with the play. Look down the field. If you don't spot it and you feel that pressure, take off.
By the way, that 19-yard scramble, the Bucs' longest rush of the night. Logan Mankins, we saw him hobble off late in the first half. He's in there at left guard. On first down, pocket sealed, long ball, and open is Evans. And Evans unable to reel it in. A fraction off with that one.
Yeah, he had. He just threw it a little too soft down the field that time. And what he did is he gave the backside safety, Lowry, reacted a little late and almost got there. He could have put this on a little more of a line, but that's asking a lot. Look, his first action since preseason for Mike Glennon. Good job of spotting the open Mike Evans down the field.
2nd and 10. And it's Rainey. And he lost the football for the 2nd time tonight. And it's all Atlanta on top of it. Bobby Rainey. Remember how hard he was on himself after that fumble early in this game. 2nd time he's turned it over, and Bartu has the recovery for Atlanta. Malachi Goodman stripped it away from Rainey. And the Falcons have their first drive of the 2nd half.
It's a good start.
Encroachment. Defense, number 92.
William Golston.
5-yard penalty. First down.
Well, you talked about what Tampa's going to do in the 2nd half. What's Atlanta going to do?
Well, I'm interested to see. Will they keep calling plays like they did the start of the game? Will they be aggressive?
1st and 5 it is. And Steven Jackson, who had a good first quarter to open up this game, has just a yard right on this one.
One thing you got to do as an offense in a situation like this is protect yourself. And you protect yourself, Jim, You just can't run it up in there and let them tee off and smash you and hit your players, and maybe you get hurt. So you keep the offense going, try to keep it open so the defense still has to respect what you're trying to do.
Second and 4. They got a huge gap. Ball's out. And was it thrown back in time? It was. That was quite a play. It was Goldson who threw it back into the field of play. David stripped it. And Tampa has the recovery. Look at Levante David knock it out of the hands of Freeman. Then Deshaun Goldson chases it down. Night Football is sponsored by the Mazda CX-5. Downright fun and confidence-inspiring on Curving Road. Quicken Loans for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze. And by State Farm. Pump up your savings with a discount double check today. Well, they've double checked the replay, and that was some save by Goldson. And David, who had stripped it, would also later recover it. So now the Bucs, there was some enthusiasm you spotted on that sideline about that one play they've just made. But James is dropped for a loss of 3.
Well, they're getting something going there. There had to be a lot of yelling going on at halftime in that Tampa Bay locker room. I know that's not Lovie Smith's way of doing it, but
it's Goldson who kept it in play, but it was David who recovered it after also forcing the fumble.
Corey Peters on the defensive side. He's made quite a few plays tonight.
Yes, he has. He had a sack, and he also forced a turnover that led to the pick 6, and Glennon's throw is knocked down, intended for Jackson, and Robert Alford was the defender, but a flag is out in the area where the ball was thrown in the backfield.
After the play, personal foul, offense, number 63. That's a 15-yard penalty. The down counts, 3rd down.
Well, there's no 63, so it must be.
Yeah, it's 62.
62, there you go.
Evan Dietrich Smith, the former Packer.
Yep.
That puts the football all the way back at the 25. They've got to get to the Atlanta 47 for the first. 3rd and 28. Glennon's pass almost intercepted. Climbing the ladder was Desmond Trufant.
Vincent Jackson not even looking for the football, but Trufant is a heady player, very competitive.
Wearing that
and the best corner on this team.
Well, he was drafted in the 1st round last year, Washington Husky. And he's wearing Dion's old Falcon number. He's the man who broke past Dion's all-time record with returns, and he's ready to handle the football again after some cramps in the late stages of the first half. They still kick it to him at the 22, and Hester gets tangled up for a moment. Look out. Look, I can't believe they gave him the football again. There is a flag out as he tries to cut off the angle, and it was Rainey who was not going to allow him to cut back to the inside. A 53-yard boot and a 39-yard return.
It was a great no blocker or shield by Eric Weems to let him turn the sideline.
In the return, block on the back. On the return team, number 52. 10-yard penalty. 1st down.
Called on Stupar.
Timeout.
There it is, left side of your screen. Thrill every time he touches it. In celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month. The Falcons partnered with Gatorade to host a Play 60 camp on Tuesday for 100 kids at the predominantly Hispanic Walters Boys and Girls Club in Gainesville, Georgia. The children participated in a variety of drills assisted by the Falcons players. Celebrate the diversity of the NFL during Hispanic Heritage Month and all season long. So after the penalty on the return, it brings it back to the 18. Steven Jackson for about 4. By the way, our SAP announcer, Roberto Abramowitz, had this call of the Hester punt return earlier.
Cohen. Con el despeje, alto, lo espera Hester en la 39. Encuentra una grieta y a correr se ha dicho. Se va, se fue. Touchdown, Devin Hester.
Yes, it was. 2nd and 6.
Sunday. Let him go.
Short side of the field to Jackson for a yard. Talking to Matt Ryan on Tuesday, we said, hey, we got your guy, Tony Gonzalez. He goes from your team to our team. What are we getting?
Yeah, well, it was Matt Ryan. He goes, look, he's a lot of fun. He's a good guy. He's very opinionated. And you know he's never wrong. And he goes, I think he's perfect for TV.
Perfect. That makes him a TV guy.
That's right, it does. But, boy, they love Tony Gonzalez down here. And, you know, Matt Ryan, it just shows you the way he gets along with all the players. Doesn't take a lot of credit. He's not out in front of this team. And I think that's why everybody who works hard is good. And these Atlanta players respecting greatly, of course.
3rd and 5. And he takes something off of this one to Hester. Who else? And he is finally tackled out of bounds at the 48 by Leonard Johnson, and another 25-yard pickup by Hester.
Yeah, it's a play you see a lot of. The outside receivers, little move, separates from Johnson, and a perfect throw by Matt Ryan. Nice touch on that pass. Little pick play inside. We saw it with Indianapolis many times with Peyton Manning, and now everybody across the league is trying this play. We're not trying it, making it work.
Hester's first catch goes for 25.
25, ready. Hey, come on over. Sunday. Gotta go.
And on 1st down, Jackson tackled behind the line of scrimmage by Levante David. Got a flag out and a helmet off. There's Joe Holly, center.
A little scratch on the head. Usually if there's a little scrum, I would think Joe Holly has a pretty good chance of being in the middle of it.
Well, we saw him in one in the first half. Trying to recover a fumble.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense, number 97. It's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
Akeem Spence. That'll move the football deep into Tampa territory. And with the NFL now, you can access the biggest NFL video library on the planet. Select your favorite team or players, and NFL Now delivers nonstop videos on your favorite device. You can get NFL Now free, NFL.com/now. James Russell, relief pitcher for the Atlanta Braves, taking the game in. 1st down, Ryan. And he's looking for Julio Jones. And, oh, what a catch. Touchdown, Atlanta. How Julio was able to contort, turn around, and be able to find that football.
Well, like a center fielder chasing a long fly ball. And he keeps going, keeps his eyes on it. How about that over-the-shoulder catch?
Had control throughout.
Yep, that's a receiver that's run and caught a lot of footballs. And, you know, great passing teams make throws and catches like that. And if you do that with a certain team that likes to play a different style, when they get opportunities, they don't pull it in. He does it because he gets so many chances in games and every day in practice, and there's a good reason why, because he's one of the best in the NFL.
Well, you know, at Alabama, he did a lot of blocking.
Yeah, that's right.
He ended up
That's right.
being part of that draft day trade where they moved up to get him. And 100% healthy after having to be IR'd last year with a foot injury. His second touchdown of the night. Matt Ryan's missed only 3 passes tonight and has thrown 3 touchdowns. And he's moving in on 300 yards. 7 of his last 7, including the 40-yard touchdown hookup a moment ago with Julio Jones. And Jones has the second highest total of his career in a regular season game with 161. By the way, doubleheader weekend coming up here on CBS, and the big story is the doubleheader game going to most of the nation. Denver, Seattle, the first Super Bowl rematch in the following regular season since 1997. Phil will be there. We're on our way to Seattle right after this one. It all, of course, begins with the NFL today at noon Eastern time.
Matt Ryan's 3 incompletions, 2 of them he had a chance over. Only 1 pass has been defensed tonight by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oh, boy.
Oh, look at this. Picked up by the Falcons. Nope. Yes, it ends up the Falcon football at the 1-yard line. It's Michael Johnson. I beg your pardon. It's Mpanga. It reminds me a little bit of the first snap of the Super Bowl back in February. It was right over Clinton. Stanley Mpanga is there and came very close to rolling into the end zone.
It was, could have fair caught it if he got back there, but boy, 42-0.
You look at Dietrich Smith, the center.
It's to a point where now, Jim, the game has gotten so out of hand. You just want a way out of this. You know, a long drive, eat up some clock, do something to move this game along.
We're not even 7 minutes into the second half, and the Falcons going for a 7th touchdown. Coming off their 5th takeaway of the game, Steven Jackson fighting through tackles, still fighting, and he's across for the touchdown.
Well, he's a big running back. Give him a lot of credit. Showed great desire. But it's one team that's clicking, emotionally still into it, and it's just tough for the other team to find enough fight to get it done.
Nope. One-sided affair when it comes to the battle of wills. 2 touchdowns in 12 seconds for Atlanta. To nothing. On Atlanta. It has been ugly from the start. 49-zip. NFL Thursday Night Football sponsored by Verizon XLTE on America's largest, most reliable network. And by Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. The Skyview Ferris wheel with the breathtaking panoramic views of downtown Atlanta. Oh boy. Here's the old Tampa shirt from back when this franchise started back in the 70s. Got the bag out tonight. And a knee. Listen in on Mike Smith, the best of.
Hey, but keep the hammer down on the ball. We got it. We got the ball. Yes. Yes. Woo. That away, go. Let's go.
Hey, I'm starting to wonder about the effects of this game for both sides the rest of the season. To have this kind of performance on the Atlanta side, and then the possible after effects too for Tampa.
Oh, there's going to be some on Tampa's side.
Glennon.
Real quick, Jim.
Complete to Stocker.
I said it earlier.
Complete to Stocker.
For Atlanta, you got to keep playing hard. You know why? I said it earlier. You got to keep playing hard because that's how you keep from getting hurt. You can't go out there and be passive. And you talk about this Tampa Bay team, there's got to be some. It's like when you go out and you're a shooter in basketball and you go 0 for 10. The next game, you go out there and go, oh, I got it. It's going to come right back. Or you're playing golf and you snap hook 5 drives in a row. Do you have confidence on your 6th one? No.
There's the 4th first down of the night for the Bucs, and a gain of 11 for a second straight play to Stocker. Sunday on NFL Game Day morning, the guys preview a defining weekend in the NFC East. NFL Game Day morning Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, live on NFL Network.
Look, I know, short week here in this dome against a high-flying offense. No doubt about that for the Atlanta Falcons. You got injuries on Tampa's side, but physically, mentally, in every aspect, they fell apart tonight.
By the way, Vincent Jackson, their #1 receiver, without a catch tonight. As Glennon steps up away from the pressure, lofts it down the field, and he's nearly picked off, incomplete. And it looks like Dwight Lowry is shaken up. And the flag is back in the area of the quarterback, and it's called holding. There it is.
Corner, yeah.
Yep.
Dotson. Man, when you jump, that's what happens. You get a bunch of guys around and you jump for the ball, and the contact, you see it every week. It's when you land.
This is when you wish you were playing outside and having a softer landing.
Grass. And listen, this artificial turf, it's not hard. I was down on the field before the game, and you walk around, it's soft, but hey, it's not grass. And I can remember when you played on artificial turf and the game was over, the next day you were so sore, and you could get beat up and hit the ground a lot on a grass field, and the next day you wake up and go, hey, I feel pretty good, because it was that big of a difference.
Well, able to get up and jog to the sideline. Ishmael comes in for Lowry. Ishmael already with an interception and a run back for a score in the first quarter. It's 21-0 after 1, and then the Falcons scored on the first play of the second quarter. Rainey breaks the tackle, a second one, and he's running with determination after a couple of fumbles tonight.
Yeah, it looked like a face mask.
And here comes more action from the officials.
Yeah, let's slow this game down some more.
Yeah.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, offense number 62 with a headbutt.
It's the second one.
It's a 15-yard penalty. Replay second down.
Dietrich Smith.
Wow, I'll tell you, it's almost like if I was Lovie Smith, let's call a timeout and let's bring everybody to the sideline and have a little talk.
Head's hanging on the sideline, but this head slammed into the helmet of Paul Warlow. That one might make the wallet a little bit lighter here in about a week's time. Nine penalties on the night for Tampa Bay as Glennon hits his man in stride. It's Evans to the 24. He came on a 2nd and 30 play. They got 9 of it back. On a night where Tampa has more turnovers than first downs to this point. 5-4. 3rd and 21. Short of the first is Brandon Myers, former tight end of the Raiders and later the Giants for a year. And they will punt once again.
I'm interested to see if Devin Hester comes out to return this punt.
He's coming out.
I got to tell you now, if I was the coach too, you know what he'd be doing right here?
You would say you don't want to let up, but you don't want to, in this particular case, yeah, you don't need to risk any injury for this kid.
Fair catch it.
Yeah.
Go out there and catch the ball.
High snap. Brought down by Kanan. No chance to return this one. "48-yard punt." Well, getting prepared for this game, you were raving about their first-round pick, Jake Matthews, the tackle out of Texas A&M, out of that incredible football family. What have you seen tonight, Phil?
Well, I think he's been outstanding tonight, too. We didn't really get a chance to talk about him. Little switch block that time, pins the corner inside early in the game, Steven Jackson. And his pass blocking has been outstanding. Nice job. Look at that athletic ability down the field. How about that block against Lansana?
Well, we got T.J. Yates in at quarterback. That's going to be it for Matt Ryan. Oh, what a hit that was on Rodgers. It was Barron who collided with him. We were talking about the Matthews family tree, and it all started with Clay Sr.
Right
just
there.
down the road at Georgia Tech. He played for Bobby Dodd. We showed you earlier Bobby Dodd Stadium.
Clay Sr. looks like Mike Ditka a little bit, doesn't he?
Oh, man.
Or Jerry Richardson. That's the other guy looks like.
Of course, Clay Jr. and then Bruce.
But, you know, Jake Matthews out of the game. Fought his way back on the field. Had an injury to his ankle.
As they hand it off again to Rodgers. And again, Matt Ryan is out, done for the night. And he's going to end up setting the Falcons' single game record for completion percentage. 87.5% tonight on 21 out of 24.
It's good to get him out. Great confidence boost for this offense. That's an understatement. But your quarterback gets to play. Really didn't take any hits. And Jake Matthews went to left tackle. It really just solidifies the offensive line. And when he played, it was only a quarter and a half. But that quarter and a half against New Orleans Saints, it was a clinic. And it was a really good night tonight for him also.
And Yates on 3rd and 6, the former Texans quarterback, lofts that one down the field and hits his man, Weems, on the run. And the ball rolls out of bounds. They rule him down at the 36, a gain of 40.
Blitz by the defense. Oh, man, what a move at the line of scrimmage. That's what it's all about. Wide receivers, who wins at the line of scrimmage or who's more physical. And Alteron Werner did not even get a hand on him. Completely missed him as he was trying to bump him at the line of scrimmage. That was a fumble.
Weems, who had all of one catch last season at Chicago. He's got 3 catches tonight. Matt Ryan loving that. Yates, his first throw as a Falcon, goes for 40.
We're good. Sunday. Here we go.
Anton Smith dropped for a loss of 2. 7 touchdowns for Atlanta on the night versus 4 first downs for the Bucs. And how about the different ways they've scored those 7 touchdowns? A punt return, interception return, an end around with Hester. 3 touchdown passes, including a 40-yard throw to Julio Jones. And Hester, who had those cramps in the first half, he's limping on the sideline again.
Sunday. Here we go.
2 minutes to go in the third, 2nd and 12, and Smith, blocker in front, Already turns the corner. And Tampa is flat-footed. That is an embarrassment right there as he takes it all the way to the house. 38 yards. You got to give some credit to Peter Kahns for the block, but Tampa, how do they let this one go all the way?
Gabe Karimi gets the seal. Peter Kahns comes out. It was like a clinic. That's one of those plays you put on your reel and say, this is how we want to run this play. It was perfect.
Where's the Tampa defense? Tampa Bay defense on that play. 8 touchdowns. 5 of them have come from 20 yards and out. Esther's going in. They put up 21 in the first quarter, 14 in the second, 21 more here in the third. We still have another quarter to play, and it's only 56-zip.
Well, Jim, it started with the offense of the Saints. We wondered, could you pressure Matt Ryan? We said in the opening, the answer is no. And when they did, his movement just opened up receivers wide open. Anticipates the inside throw to Julio Jones. And this one, that might be the play of the night. The throw, the record. They had a good disguise that time on the defensive side. They tried to fool Matt Ryan. He looked down the middle field. He goes, oh, wait, I see something. He saw the one-on-one to the right and made a great adjustment through the pass, and Julio Jones catch. That'll be on TV a lot. Highlights. Way to adjust to the football. You know, the good thing for the Atlanta Falcons, they got some extra days where they'll get over the excitement of what they've done here tonight. They'll get them back to work next week before their next game.
Well, the thing about Tampa Bay is this was the start of a 3-game road trip. It's not sure they get a little extra time to prepare for the next one, but they're not home for a while playing the games. They'll be at Pittsburgh and then at New Orleans. And the sting of this performance will be hard to let go of it. Bosher bashes that one all the way through the back of the end zone. Now here's the interesting thing about Atlanta's schedule. Okay, they have between now and November 23rd, they have 2 home games, but one of their quote-unquote home games is at Wembley Stadium in London. So between tonight and November 23rd, the only game they have here is just the one occasion. It's against Chicago in the middle of October.
That's tough.
Think about that. Between now and the weekend before Christmas, one more game on this field. The weekend before Thanksgiving, I should say. You see Rich McKay on the left.
Right here, yeah.
Dimitrov next to him, and then Arthur Blank, the owner.
Well, look, this is a big year. They were on Hard Knocks. Not that that makes it a big year, but the Falcons were one play from the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and then last year the team fell apart. Really, there were a couple plays. Matt Ryan, when he showed all the people here, he's tough because he took some beating throwing the football last year.
Glennon to Rainey in a first down. And we saw Arthur Blank, and they're in the process of building this new stadium that abuts this complex.
Right.
This Georgia Dome hosts to 2 Super Bowls, 3 Final Fours, but in the fall of 2017 they'll have a new home just steps away from here. There's Rainey again, as well as the Braves are in the process of building a new park out in Cobb County, and that's going to open also in 2017.
You know, too, though, just talk about this Falcons team, Jim. tried to rebuild it. You saw it. Let's be physical. They got the offensive line. I think they fixed it. I really do. I think overall, I'm not saying it's one of the best, but it's good enough to get Matt Ryan enough time to throw to some open receivers, because they're loaded at the receiver position, and the defensive line better tonight. That'll be a big key to this football team.
2nd and 5, and that's the way Rainey was running last week against St. Louis when he racked up 144. Picks up 8 with that one, but we're through 3 mercifully. And we'll return to Atlanta after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching Thursday Night Football. There you see it by quarter. Domination
55.
every step of the way. We start the 4th. Jim Nance, Phil Simms, Tracy Wolfson, Mike Carey. Oh. And another mishap.
I think
It's again Dietrich Smith, who's been flagged a couple times in this half, and
I think he thought Mike Glennon was underneath the center. I don't know how he
had to have.
Yes, that's what he snapped it right up there.
Out of sync.
Hey, 55.
There's a lot of other words for what's going on.
2nd and 12, and here they come, and the ball's out. They're going to call it incomplete. He got walloped by Prince Shembo from behind. Incomplete.
Well, they made a mistake. The offensive line blocked down to the right. Nobody there.
Was that ball out of his hand?
I think it's
was
a
it
fumble.
throwing motion?
You can review this. I would think.
You're Mike Smith. Do you even want to do that?
You know, honestly,
point,
I don't. I would say no. I'd say let's
you got to
just let
play
it
him
go.
again later in the year. You know. Hey.
I think Mike Smith was on the sideline asking some of the coaches.
3rd and 12. And Glennon again underneath. Rainey stopped the yard short. We'll go for it here. Mike Evans looking on the left side. Mike Evans is limping to the sideline. Russell Shepard comes in for him. 4th and a yard. Will stay spread. Rainey somehow got through a tiny crease. Picks up the 1st.
Good timing. Ishmael waited to the last second. He knew the check was going to make a run to his right and just came up and couldn't quite make the tackle.
So from 3rd and 12, they get it up to 4th and a yard and then convert. New set of downs at the 42. And they salvage a small bit of pride by avoiding a shutout. Over the top, Rainey. You could see that collision coming. Robert McLean. But Rainey so shifty, he avoided a really hard blow. Gain 6.
Well, it's a good work for your backup quarterback. And, you know, they got to sit there and actually think what's going on with Josh McCown. How bad is his thumb?
Yeah, he may not be the backup quarterback. Talking about Glennon. Again. As he throws. Rainey slips out of the tackle, and a second one. He's down to the 22. By the way, we talked about our doubleheader day on Sunday, but let's show you the complete slate of 1 o'clock games Eastern time on both CBS and Fox. The next broadcast window for the league this Sunday, 1 o'clock. Check your local listings for the game in your area.
That play that we just saw Rainey make, that's what we saw the first couple weeks. Just making extra yards, breaking tackles, making the right reads.
First down, Glennon. Got time, but there's a flag out. Maybe that's why he had time. As Glennon takes off, already with a 19-yard scramble. That one goes for 10.
Ill use of hands. Offense number 69, hands to the face. 10-yard penalty, replay first down.
You know, we got Mike Carey up here in the booth, and I want to go to him. Hey, Mike, do you, as an official in situations like this, do you have a little compassion and let some of these penalties go?
No, not till it gets with about 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Right now, you have to keep all the metal down because desperation happens, frustration happens, and so some of those aggressive fouls can happen. You want to make sure you stay on top of the game.
And every official is still getting graded on every play, even regardless of the score, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So you really have to kind of
Keep playing.
do your thing throughout, I would think. 1st and 20 now after the flag against the Bucs. And sliding away from the pressure and completing the throw to Myers.
You know, one time, Jim, I played in a game where we really beat the other team by a very large score, and the coach accused Bill Parcells of running up the score. And, you know, we had defensive touchdowns, all that, whatever. What are you going to do? He goes, well, is it my job to coach your team too?
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and I just went, that said it all. He goes, I got to start worrying about your team. You know, so.
Well, the Atlanta
It's a big boy league.
defense, first time tonight that they have been challenged. They have not allowed a touchdown in 19 straight games, which is they have allowed at least one touchdown in 19 straight games. Longest streak in the league. And now Tampa inches closer. That was Vincent Jackson's first catch.
Well, a little energy in this game here. You know, look, it's 56-0. I understand that, but this Falcon defense, there is that 0 on the board. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they get together. They're talking about that. They still got a lot of starters out there.
The throw to Jackson was enough for the first gain of 12. Again, his first catch of the night. As Glennon has his backup tight. No, it's Myers, his starter. He's hit Stocker a couple of times, has Glennon, and now Myers has another catch. 3 on the game. That one goes for another 9. Got 4 catches for Myers. 2nd and 1 from the 4.
Hey, 36 is the white. 36.
Go up the middle. Squirming near the first down is Rainey. Again, no Doug Martin tonight. Martin having that remarkable rookie year in 2012. But last year was IR mid-season, early season actually, with a shoulder. And then tweaked the knee in the opener this year against Carolina. There's Doug Martin.
And, you know, good decision. Doug Martin, Gerald McCoy, when in doubt, you know, give them that extra rest so they can be ready. Sometimes when you play and you try to fight your way through it, the injury never heals. You fight it all year long.
3rd and 1. Glennon to the end zone, and are both feet down? Yes, touchdown for Tampa Bay. Vincent Jackson.
Well, Alford's got to be upset. It looked like we're a long ways away, but did Vincent Jackson straighten his arms out and push him in to the defensive? Yeah, I'd say so.
Oh boy, definitely looked like he may have pushed off there.
And then he's
did a good job though getting the feet down.
Yep.
And using that 6'5" frame to his advantage, but
he definitely pushed off. And
let's bring in Mike Carey. Mike,
is that right?
What do you think,
Mike?
Yeah, I think he got away with one. But, you know, it happens at this time of the game.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's upsetting though. I understand Alford being upset by it because you're one-on-one against Vincent Jackson. He's 6'5" and got long arms, and he used them.
extra point by Patrick Murray. Here's the state capitol here in Atlanta on quite a night for the Falcons. Coming up after the game, the Mazda post-game show. Interviews and analysis right after the game. Aggies, actually they bring out their punter to handle the kickoff chores. Touchback by Kanan. NFL Thursday Night Football sponsored by T-Mobile. Voya Financial, changing the way you think of retirement. And by the Lexus GX, dare to be spontaneous. 56 points tonight, the second most points in Atlanta history. That's 62 points, 41 years ago this week. Dick Shiner leading the Falcons in a romp over the Saints. TJ Yates will hand it off here.
Well, one thing we noticed tonight, we talked about at halftime, I don't think I've ever watched an NFL game where receivers were so wide open all over the field. Look at the area where there's nobody around them as they catch the ball. And we're going to show you a couple. We had about 15 of them to choose from. So
Julio Jones is finished for the night.
good game plan by the Falcons, throwing the football. Some of the things just to go back, no pressure by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front on Matt Ryan. And, of course, a very talented group of receivers here in Atlanta.
After a 2-yard run by Freeman. Devontae for no gain this time. You know, we talked about Phil's top 5 last week, which was throwers of the football. Tonight, your Phil's 5 super freak receivers.
Super freaks. That means they're big talent. They put it on the field. Brandon Marshall, number 4. You saw it. A.J. Green tied for second with the guy here tonight, Julio Jones. And the number 1, Calvin Johnson. I keep thinking Calvin Johnson's going to slow down a little bit. And I've watched him, especially that first game, fast, looks, showing no effects of being in the league as long as he has been. But those guys are physically dominating, smart, and they apply it all to the field.
3rd and 8, intercepted, and the Buccaneers have another touchdown. Danny Lansana. DJ Yates gives up the pick 6.
Well, Lansana, number 51, they do like him. Aggressive, can really tackle. Watching to the right of the screen, here he is. Comes off of his guy and then reads the quarterback and makes the interception.
Well, this is a guy just been looking for a chance.
Well, he's fighting. Now, they played him because him and Jonathan Casillas are kind of rotating at that linebacker position, and you let it play out. The good thing about playing linebacker in this league, you can play more than one guy at a position.
How about Lansana? He played a little bit for Seattle back in 08, and he was out of the NFL for 5 years. Tampa Bay signed him right at the end of last season. He played in only 1 game, week 17.
Hard to believe, really.
And he played with enough effort. They brought him back to camp, and he earned a spot on this team. And tonight, he comes out, makes the interception with the return for the touchdown. Well, 14 points for the Buccaneers here in the 4th quarter. Danny Lansana with the run back of a TJ Yates pass for the touchdown.
Atlanta ready for an onside kick. I do not think there will be one.
Kanan sends it right through. And they'll bring it out to the 20 with 7 minutes to go. Was 56-0. NFL Thursday Night Football is sponsored by Wendy's and by the Lexus GX. Dare to be spontaneous. Freeman is the running back behind Yates. He could have been tackled for a loss, but he's able to gain about 3. We also had a mic tonight on Levante David, the linebacker who was an All-Pro last year of Tampa Bay.
Rock it, rock it!
Love it. We fight, all right? So you're hard now, all right?
And we want to thank Levante David, the Tampa Bay staff, as well as Coach Mike Smith on the Atlanta side for allowing us to eavesdrop a couple of times on him tonight. 2nd and 7. And again, it's Freeman. This time no gain. Let's go down to Tracy.
Well, thanks, Jim. Devin Hester still in the locker room dealing with those cramps. They're giving him an IV and some fluids. They want to get him back out here. He's not going to play, but they want him part of this celebration after this win. And I was talking to Deion Sanders a little bit ago, and he said that Hester came up to him before the game and said, I'm going to break your record. I want you in the end zone so I can give you the ball. Well, he wasn't in the end zone when he broke the record, so you can bet that he wants to see Deion after this game. So let's just keep an eye on that tunnel and see if he's able to make it back out here, guys.
How about that? There's Deion. Yeah, I think the return happened too close to halftime. So Deion and the crew, JB, Coach Cowher, Tony Gonzalez, were getting set up for their halftime performance. We got a timeout called by the Falcons. Now the graphic changes tonight. 2nd total return touchdowns. 6 career punt returns for touchdowns. 8, or make that 9 picks. Run back 53 interceptions in his Hall of Fame career.
Never had a chance to play against Deion Sanders, and if I did, probably would be the same instructions I got when I played the Washington Redskins and Darryl Green. And that was, Sims, don't even think about throwing the ball his way.
Got a first down off of that throw. Pass to Courtney Roby.
I would say to him, Jim, I'd say, what do you want me to do if they double team the other receiver? And he goes, still don't go that way. Darryl Green, Deion Sanders, Mike Haynes. I mean, there's many great corners, but some of these guys, hard to challenge them. And I always say, oh, you got to challenge them sometimes. Well, why do you want to challenge the best player of the other team? Just go against. The game plan is always go to the weakness of the defense.
Which is going to raise the point we're going to see Richard Sherman this weekend as we head to Seattle. With Peyton and Denver against the Super Bowl champion Seahawks.
Encroachment. Defense, number 92. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
You know, we were talking about Hester and Deion, and we showed you earlier tonight. There's Billy White Shoes Johnson, who electrified the Atlanta fans. Here's our throwback Thursday. Of course, he had 7 years with the Houston Oilers, 6 years here in Atlanta. He was amazing. You also remember some Hail Mary action at the end of some games.
Great uniforms.
It was awesome to watch. And Freeman is within a couple of the first down. Reminds me, this is one of the, as far as towns go with great sports nicknames, Atlanta might be right up there as the best. You have the likes of Pistol Pete, Primetime Deion,
right?
The Human Highlight Reel, Dominique Wilkins.
Yep.
Matty Ice.
Matty Ice, there you go.
And of course, Hammerin' Hank.
Oh, sure. Boy. Man. Matty Ice.
Three's the mic. Three's the mic. Ready?
2nd and 2.
Blue, wait, come on.
And that's backed up for a loss of a couple for Freeman. Next Thursday, your football week starts here. We're going to go to the NFC East for the Giants and the Redskins. Another big-time matchup in prime time. Thursday night football on CBS and the NFL Network next Thursday from Washington.
Looking forward to watching both of those teams. Redskins kind of have righted the ship. The thing that jumps out about the Redskins is their defense has played very well to start this year out.
Arthur Blank has come down to the sideline. Have a little chat with his quarterback. 3rd and 4. 3.5 to go. And DeMarco has a catch for the 3rd time tonight. By the way, speaking of catching, it is a huge performance by Julio Jones. And he had a little talk with us. You know, we had the honor of doing the Madden game here for a number of years, and give the guy a little break, will you? He wanted you to pick up the commentary a little bit on his performance in Madden and give him a little better time with the stopwatch.
No, first off, I talked very well about him in the game. He gets mad because his speed is not rated.
Yeah.
And I told him, I'm not the guy that rates the speed.
You got the wrong department.
But that is really the number one thing we hear from all the players. Hey, I'm faster than that, so that complaint is universal.
I don't think he believed us when we told him. That's actually not something that we have any responsibility for, but I sense he wanted to show us a little bit of that speed tonight.
What I said, I tried to, it's hard sometimes to talk to him because you're trying to ask a question in a polite way. I said, when you've come to, did you speed up in the NFL over college? And he goes, he did. What was his answer? Man, I've always been fast. And because we didn't get to see the explosions and the talent in college. Yeah, they used him well in Alabama, but this is wide open here in Atlanta. This offense, he's featured, and man, he just makes big plays every week.
2nd and 10. And Freeman moves the Atlanta offense total to 490 yards on the night. You take the week 1, 568 against the Saints, and now this one. Those are 2 of the 3 highest performances by yardage in the league here early in the season.
What I like about their wide receiver group is they got energy. You see on the field, you can tell the energy, all of them. They're full speed, thinking they're going to get the football on every play.
At the 2-minute warning. Back in just a moment. You're watching Thursday Night Football. Coming up next is the Mazda post-game show. Interviews and analysis of tonight's game, and a nod to all the crew here tonight. Lance Barrow, Mike Arnold. They've emptied the bucket here tonight. Now they're going to reload it, and we're going to all head to the great state of Washington for Seattle's hosting of Denver on Sunday.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it. We saw the Super Bowl last year, and there's a lot of time. I know it doesn't seem that long ago, but a lot can change during an off-season and early year for football teams, and I think Denver's made a lot of changes for the sole reason to compete against a team like Denver and like Seattle and do better the second time around.
Well, they really kind of rebuilt that defense after the shellacking they took in the Super Bowl, and speed was really the point of emphasis.
Got to have
Marcus
speed.
Ware, Aqib Talib, and physicality too. TJ Ward.
Got to chase a fast quarterback. You got to be physical, and they also changed their offensive line because they got a little overpowered in the Super Bowl. So, when you lose a big game like that, what you do is you see what standard you have to go to maybe win the Super Bowl, and that's why you make changes. It's motivating to the players, and you're going to change your tactics in the game also, so it's going to be fun to watch.
Bosher to punt for the second time tonight. They'll back him up 5 yards. What I was seeing that game early is
5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
How the Denver receivers will handle things off the snap. Will they be able to somehow win that battle right there at the line of scrimmage to somehow be able to create some sort of separation? There was nothing there for them in that Super Bowl.
I'm always curious about strategy and what you plan on doing to counteract what happened in that Super Bowl. So I think both teams will do something different.
There you go.
Especially the Denver Broncos.
Fair catch at the 12 courts. Wes Welker will be back for the Broncos. And Russell Wilson and the Seahawks off to a 1-1 start, but this is what happened in the Super Bowl. There was a run back here for a touchdown. That first snap that went sailing over the head of Peyton.
I think one thing they found out,
Harbin with a run back.
if you hold the football too long, trying to throw the ball down the field for big plays, pretty tough against this defense, especially in Seattle.
I mentioned earlier the first rematch of a Super Bowl the following regular season since Packers and Patriots back in 1997. You were talking about Matt Ryan at home tonight at the very start. Russell Wilson 16-1 in his career at home in the regular season. As they toss it over to Myers. Now Tampa Bay will again have the 3 extra days of rest coming off this Thursday performance, and then road games at Pittsburgh, at New Orleans, before being back home against Baltimore. One other thing about this game on Sunday we're going to see. As you got a minute and 14 to go, 2nd and 6. And Glennon's going to go down back at the 5. That was Massaquoi along with Mapunga. They both have made plays tonight.
It's got to give them confidence. They did get some pressure on the quarterback during the night, and multiple players were back there. That's something they were talking about. They wanted to see pressure on the quarterback. They haven't had it. They did tonight.
McCown, who injured his thumb in the first half. But a nod to the Chargers for that win over the Super Bowl champs on Sunday. Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates combining for 3 touchdowns. Rainey up the middle. And that should do it. Let's hope so.
It's over?
Yes.
It's so quick.
I've never seen you so happy.
Sometimes ahead for the Tampa Bay for the next 10 days, trying to right this ship again.
Well, people were wondering, you know, Atlanta just a season removed from being one play away from going to the Super Bowl, and then they plummeted last year to 4-12. Could they rebound back to those days when they were getting those multiple double-digit win years?
Well, they have an off season where they all worked hard, and the sting of the season ending so quick gives you motivation. So that loss in Cincinnati last week was upsetting, and they corrected that, of course, here tonight against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Saw a shot of Logan Mankins. Boy, this is something he's not accustomed to. Well, he's been in games like this, but he's been on the other side of it.
On the other side. But this game gives a lot of confidence to the Atlanta Falcons. Everything they've worked to do during the offseason here early in the year, they accomplished here tonight.
Second highest point total in Atlanta team history. Final score is 56-14. Coming up again, the Mazda postgame show.